Okay, take two. Hopefully my audio is actually working this time. Here's the thing. We've been kind of stuck in a little bit of a weird situation here, and I think I'm going to add my thoughts on the matter. Just about the time I can pull up. Um, yeah, we'll use that one. That'll work. I'm not gonna get into the in depth. Okay, what we're gonna do
because it was recommended.
Is oh, where is it? There it is. Probably the least flattering screen stop ever you could do of Tim Pool, right? But this is what I'm reacting to, and I'm not gonna do that lazy thing where I just sit here and play his video content. I'm using it as a backdrop. Okay. I'm not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. All rights and copyright are reserved by. Let's see, what's their name? Who owns Mountain Dew? PepsiCo. Okay, Mountain Dew. Good old fashioned Mountain Dew in a metal can. Okay. Just about the least healthy thing on the planet. I drink it once a week. Sometimes I limit myself back to once a month, depending on both the budgetary considerations and everything else. And I usually get it at Dollar Tree for $1.25. Doesn't sound that bad, right? Not too bad at all. Until you stop and you consider how many food stamp recipients are buying that same can of Mountain Dew using your tax money that you have no choice but to pay into the SNAP program because the government says so. Now, here's the thing. SNAP is supposed to be healthy food. Okay? Not junk. You're supposed to be going out and buying stuff like lettuce, tomatoes, meats, grain products like rice and potatoes, not energy drinks and friggin' candy. And furthermore, here's the problem with SNAP. A lot of people out there like to treat it like it's some kind of entitlement, like they have a right to it. You do not have a right to it. It is a privilege given to you by this great nation and its federal government off of the backs of people who work for a living. Show some fucking respect or get the fuck out. And you know what? That does not just apply to people who are illegal immigrants or all that BS. That's for everybody. That is a blanket statement. If you have a problem with showing respect for people who work their ass off to give you a little bit of fucking spending money so you and your family don't fucking starve, and you want to be disrespectful enough to get on Twitter and show off the $3,000-4,000 that you're somehow getting through these programs, which is not the amount you're supposed to be getting. It's only supposed to be $300 to $400 a month to help you, not literally to fucking pay for your fucking lifestyle. Get the fuck out of my country. You're not welcome here. I don't care if you are a fucking citizen. How about that? How about that? About time someone fucking said it. You're a scumbag. Get the fuck out of here. Now, moving on to the soda ban itself for a minute. They have every right to ban whatever they want off that list from the federal government. 100%. SNAP is a federally operated program funded through DHS, written into it by Congress. And part of that law, part of that bill, states that the executive branch, more specifically the director of DHS and DHS itself, has every right to say what can be on the buy list and what is on the do not buy list. To be clear, and by the way, the reason I know this stuff is because for at least a good 5 years of my life, both in childhood and adulthood, I have been on the food stamp program. And one of the first things they tell you is that the list is subject to change. So if the federal government, meaning in this case RFK Jr. or Donald J. Trump, wants to ban soda off of the EBT food stamp list, they have every right to do so. and there's not a damn thing a court can do about it. The only group that can do anything about it, but probably won't, is going to be the legislature. And the reason they probably won't is because they agree with it. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Screw that shit. Screw that noise. Here we go. We'll get into it. If you're living off of anyone's taxpayer money, okay? I'll put it to you quite simply. I am a content creator for YouTube, and we're kind of weeding into the weeds of getting on Rumble, okay? Which means that I spend most of my time at home editing videos, doing live streams, coming up with new content ideas. Today's supposed to be Minecraft Monday. I almost didn't do this stream. Almost. But it just kind of irritated me. Just enough to make me say something, right? Here's the thing. I'll put this in a realistic situation. For the most part, my fiance is our income outside of the little, very teeny tiny bit I get from Rumble and the $0 I get from YouTube because I'm pretty sure they have me shadow banned. That or my content really does suck, or I'm terrible at timing and everyone else has just got bigger channels than me, which, I mean, yeah, that's equally possible too, right? So here's the thing. Her income is our primary source of income right now. It's about to not be at some point in the very near future, as I do have other projects in the work. But I will use our situation to explain this to you, okay? I have her permission to get my one can once in a while. We're not talking about a can here. We're talking about, I don't know what the actual figures for people on food stamps are, but let's say it's 3 million, right? You're talking about at least half of those people, and they're not just buying a can once a month or even 4 times a month. They're buying 2 liters of this stuff to last the whole month. And I would know this because I've got certain family members who've done this on food stamps. And by the way, the federal government has in its nature a responsibility to the health and well-being of its citizens. And if you're on an entitlement program where they give you this money to use basically off of the taxpayer dollar, it's no different than if my fiance hands me the food budget and I go blow it on a bunch of guns and ammo. Or car parts that we don't need. Oh, gee, baby, here's $2,000 that we need to get groceries to restock the freezer out in the garage and the freezer in the house, the refrigerator and the cabinets. Use it only for food, and then I turn around and I use it for video game crap. Okay, that right there doesn't track. Okay. You don't have the right to this money. You have the privilege of using this money under the guidance of the federal executive branch. Given permission to use this money by the legislative branch, aka the Senate and Congress. With the premise being that the executive branch has, written into the law, the right to remove items from the buy list. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. If you don't like it, change the law. I'm starting to get a little bit like Tom Homan in some of this stuff. You don't like the way things are, change the law. Okay? You don't have to like me for saying it. You don't have to like it for being the case, but it is. Here's the thing. I have no right to my fiance's money. We work together to try to better our situation. And the situation is that we have 2 acres out in the middle of the woods, and we are looking at getting some Starlink and a way to earn money without having to live in a city. That's what this is really all about, okay? I do Minecraft videos, I do occasional politics and news stuff. I try not to get too, I try not to get too far into the weeds of the politics too much, because I know a lot of people out there. Well, actually, I know about half of the country agrees with what I say, and the other half, well, can't make them all happy, right? The other half, they either just don't agree or they need to be in a straitjacket, but hey, whatever. At the end of the day, This is my YouTube channel. This is where I put in things to say to the people who watch my content, okay? At the end of the day, that's my decision to make. I have to open up the video feed and be my probably one viewer at this point. But it's not that I ever had a problem with Tim Pool or anything that he does. It's just people do need to understand that Snap is not an entitlement. It's not a right. And no, my sister is absolutely right on that. Seafood should not be on the chopping block. Seafood is healthy. But stuff like this absolutely needs to be on the chopping block. You don't have a right to Mountain Dew on someone else's tax dime. Okay? And I do know why they have seafood on the chopping block. It's because a lot of seafoods are expensive. Really expensive. And they're seen as a luxury item, not a healthy food choice. And yes, I talked to Mom the other day, if that's what you're going to chat about. Actually, it was just yesterday. And she did tell me all the news. About her, anyway. In fact, well, yeah, no, you're right. Food stamps are a government control tactic. They are, 100%. But some people do rely on that government control, tactic to put food on their table. It's not like you and me where, we were taught to be self-sufficient and all this other stuff. And I've used food stamps before. I'm not going to lie about it. Well, it might be also a medicinal food, but, that's not how the federal government sees it. And that's really where you're going to run into the bulkhead of the issue there. I mean, it's not how they used to see it. Now that RFK Jr.'s in there, that might change. But, you got to remember, you're talking about a whole government bureaucracy versus one person who might be in charge of it. But that kind of change takes time. And it's just going to be... Even if he does push them to take it off of the not buy list, it's going to take time for them to do it. The problem I have with food stamps is not that it's a control tactic. The problem I have with food stamps is that they forcibly remove the money from people who do work for a living. And by the way, me and my fiance don't use food stamps right now because we don't really qualify for it. At the end of the day, though, it is the extraction of wealth from those who work to give to people who don't, for one reason or the other. I personally, as a video game streamer, I have a problem with that because, realistically speaking, my quote-unquote job isn't really work either. It's just me getting on here and mouthing off and playing video games. If we wanted to be... bare bones it. And yeah, that's true. He might need to speed it up, but you got to realize that just because someone needs to do something faster does not necessarily mean that they can. Okay, you could gut DHS tomorrow, and that's not the Department of Homeland Security. I'm talking about Department of Health and Human Services. You could gut them entirely tomorrow and start from scratch, and it's still going to take you a year or two to rebuild. So there is no real quick way to get this kind of stuff done. That being said, the items that can be added to the list, it's easier to add an item to the do not buy list than it is to take it off. I know that doesn't make any sense, but it is the way that it works. Because when you add the item, it's just like an inner office memo that says, yeah, we're adding this to the list, make sure all the people on food stamps know about it. When you take it off of the list, there's a certain amount of paperwork that they shoved up, into the bill that needs to be done for it to be done. Yes, he has every right to add and subtract items off and on the list if you wanted to. But there are processes for these things that do need to happen. Otherwise, they're not official changes and they don't settle in the way that they're supposed to in both the computer programming for the card itself and a bunch of other things. So there's definitely that too. And oh, by the way, that office memo, sometimes that can take about 3 to 4 months to circulate properly. So and this is not just a Bobby Jr. and Trump issue. This has been an issue with DHS for a long time. Really long time. Like, let's say, hypothetically, I was the director of DHS. I write a memo that says, high sugar cakes are no longer allowed on the list, right? I don't think they are anyway, but let's just hypothetically. I write that office memo, and the office the office basically passes it around or whatever, and it takes a while for it to get to the person that needs to contact the card holding company, which is not Visa, I don't think, anymore. Once upon a time it was. But I think it's different from state to state, so you have to get a hold of each and every individual state's card holder and tell them, yes, these items are no longer allowed on your food stamps program. And then from there, they have to go into the computer itself that handles the thing and type in the product codes for the items that are no longer allowed. Because of that takes time. It takes time to do these things. You have the relaying of the message, and then you have doing the thing, and then they have to send back a confirmation that the thing was done. So you're literally looking at like a month to 2 or 3 months just in the process. So there's only so much you can do about it. I mean, even if he were to go to each and every one of the 50 states of the United States and kick down the door of the office and snagged all the numbers and did it himself, it'd still take time for the change to occur. That is beyond his control. Because some of these programs, it's part of their contract that any changes implemented don't take place for an additional 30 days anyway. It's like financial policy, right? You go into a bank and they say, "Oh, we're instituting this new policy, but we're giving you 30 days under the old policy because we technically have to." So you can get ready for what's coming up next. But no, plain and simple, food stamps are not a right. They are charity and a privilege that is forced out of the working class and into the either non-working or basically the people who can't afford to feed themselves. It is literally forced upon the working public of the United States. And it exists. It's a program that exists, and we all, well, actually, none of us that are, my age and younger, none of us actually had the chance to say whether we wanted this program to exist or not. We really never did. They never gave us the time of day to even discuss it, because it was decided before we were even born. And that, I think, I definitely have a problem with that, too. I think that I think a lot of these bills, if we're being honest, for entitlement programs need to come up for a vote once every 10, 15 years anyway. And I do include Medicare, Medicaid in that system because realistically speaking, I know a lot of people my age and younger who are looking at some of these programs like, you're costing us money out of our own pockets each month. We have zero say in the matter. Where is our taxation where's the amendment about, not being taxed without representation, because we are not being properly represented at this point. I have not been able to vote one time about any of these entitlements, and nor has anyone else my age or younger. So, yeah, where's that vote? And, people don't have to like my opinion on that matter, but it is the way that it is. The political system in this country does suck. Massive nuts. But it exists the way that it does. Like, we can vote in as many people as we want, but the reality is that the system's built to be slow. The only one that has any real speed to their quote-unquote authority is the President of the United States. And that's largely in wartime or other, national emergencies. Anything outside of that, and it's usually pretty slow for him too. But yes, I absolutely agree with the fact that RFK Jr. can ban whatever he wants off the food stamps list, and 100% it should be being used. I'm gonna say it right now. I drink Monster Energy on some of my, worst misbehavior days when it comes to my diet. I don't think that should be allowed on food stamps either, at all. You're talking to someone who drinks this stuff, and I'm saying no. It's not my money. It's not their money. It's the working tax-paying public's money, and they should have every right to say, you can only buy stuff that you need, not stuff that you want. And instead of this stupid thing, here's how it should work. It should be based off of the median household expenses of the area. If you do not meet, or if you, how do I want to put this? There should be a cost of living account for food stamps, but it needs to be strictly held to the cost of living per county in the United States. And it should be strictly maintained that it is used for healthy foods only, and your amount is not based off of what you can claim on the paperwork that you're making or not. It should be based off of the median income of your area compared against what you make each month. And there should be frequent investigations into how much you make each month, and your assets and liabilities and everything else. You are on a federal charity program. You are literally offering up your privacy to the federal government, and they're in exchange for free, air quotes here, free stuff. Stuff that you don't have to pay for right now, but other people do through means of their taxes. So, that's how it should be done. And yes, if they see you walking around with a $900 iPhone and a that's not even accurate anymore, a $75,000 Cadillac Escalade, you absolutely should be investigated if you're on food stamps, 100%. I don't care what skin color you are. Plain and simple. Absolutely. And you know what? Instead of just investigations, we need to have friggin' welfare fraud suits brought against people who are violating the terms of their friggin' SNAP recipiency. 100%. And I'm going to take it a step further. Drug testing. Not to include ye good old standard pharmaceuticals, but to definitely include street drugs. And you know what? I'm going to include marijuana on that list and tobacco. And you know why? Because if you can afford to buy that bullshit, you can afford to buy your own damn food. Plain and fucking simple. It's not even about you breaking the law. It's about you misusing fucking government funds that are meant for people who really can't afford to eat. And here you are blowing taxpayer dollars on food and buying fucking drugs with your own hard-earned cash, thinking that it's somehow you're entitled to do both. I don't fucking think so. If you're on drugs, you're not on fucking food stamps. That's what I have to say about it. Same thing for alcohol, too. Every fucking single bit of it. It's for people who need the help, not for people who are addicted to fucking shit and need to quit their shit. And you know what? I'm going to say it. You're talking to a former addict here. Pills and alcohol. For about 5 years. 5 to 10. Okay? It's something I'm not exactly proud of. My family doesn't really know too much about it, but they know that I was into some crazy shit back in the day. And you know what? If I can quit cold turkey, so can anybody else. You're talking to someone who has the least amount of self-control out of anyone on the planet. Literally, you give me the nuclear football, and probably every time a country crosses my attitude on a bad mood, that football is going to be deflated. I'm going to be smashing it so much. Are you kidding? I am the worst person to be out here saying this stuff, and yet I'm out here saying it. Oh my god, you people drive me insane sometimes. Look, we already have restricted items that you drink on the list. You can't buy alcohol. You can't, in most states, you can't buy energy drinks with it. A lot of states operate that way. And if you're caught doing it, somehow slipping it through the system, they penalize you by either removing it or stopping it entirely. They either find your loophole or they penalize you personally by removing your food stamps or a decent amount of them. And look, it doesn't have to be about the sugar content per se. It doesn't. But there are things that are being designated as unhealthy because they're not healthy. This has tartrazine in it. That is coal tar friggin' byproducts. You may know it as Yellow 5. And it's the best tasting Yellow 5 I ever put down my gullet. On that note, PepsiCo, why does Mountain Dew in a can have food coloring in it? Do I really need to see what it looks like? It's in a metal can. I'm going to pop the top on this thing and it's going to disappear about 2 seconds. I don't even think this stuff needs food coloring. That's like straight up my opinion. It doesn't add anything flavor-wise, I'll tell you that much right now. But, anyway, we're going to leave it there. I mean, leave some comments, hit the like and share button amongst your friends, hit the subscribe button, and visit me over on Rumble. I gotta grab my Rumble ID at some point, wherever I left that at. I think it might be... Let me double check that actually. Is it the same as my YouTube? It's supposed to be. If it's not, then... I don't think it is the same as my YouTube. Huh. No, it's not. Alright, well, I'll post a comment with my Rumble ID in it. And y'all can go check me out over there because we're adding content over there as well. Again, it's supposed to be... I was just going to do straight up just YouTube, but there's a lot of stuff that makes it so I don't really want to just do straight up YouTube. I'm going to misspell that on purpose so we don't get in trouble. Courtesy of YouTube. There's a B missing in there somewhere. But straight up, this is ridiculous. We shouldn't even be talking about this. The other part of this, actually, before we go, has to do with a lot of conservative personalities on Twitter promoting this pro-soda thing courtesy of an influencer platform. I mean... It's not really the worst thing in the world, but it is kind of hypocritical to sit there and criticize, you know, liberals for basically blanket messaging, and then, you know, turn around and do the same thing yourselves. So, come on, guys. A little bit of common sense. A little bit of common sense. Look into who you're promoting and advertising before you do the promotion and advertising, right? And maybe actually read into the materials. You don't have to do this stuff. I mean, yeah, it's money for your back pocket, but, like, at what point do you actually activate your common sense part of your brain and say, maybe this isn't the best idea? You know, is what it is. We'll leave it at that. Hopefully everyone enjoys their lovely day, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace out. Oh, we're doing Minecraft.